What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my tier list update video. This update is for the Farfetched Heroes banner and the link to my tier list is gonna be in the description down below. I know that the new weapon refinery feature is coming out in a few days, but I'm actually gonna be making my next tier list update video after the new banner Children of Fate gets released on 4th of December. In that video, I will also cover the units who got access to their upgraded weapons. But for this update, I'm just gonna be going over some of the changes I've made to my tier list and the placement of the new Farfetched heroes. I will be explaining my reasoning behind these and I will traverse from left to right. And the timestamps for this video is gonna be in the description and in my pinned comment as well. So let's begin with Mia. Mia finds herself in the S+ tier for her monstrous player phase and how well she can function even in the enemy phase. Mia's weapon Resolute Blade is a Voda plus, but it also gives her +3 attack, and that's huge because then she pretty much has the offensive spread of 35 base attack and 40 speed, and that's a lot and makes her a great player phase unit. Because of her insane speed and good bulk, she functions really well in the enemy phase as well with a distant counter set, and because of her speed not a lot of units will be able to double her, and with distant counter and Vantage or distant counter and Wrath, she can perform really well in the enemy phase. So she basically performs really good in both phases, but still Ira is slightly better than Mia because Ira does have Flashing Blade skill built into her weapon and she has better HP and better defense stats than Mia, but still Mia is the closest you can get to Ira right now, and Ira is only better by a slight margin because of the things I've mentioned before. Next up, I've got Joshua in the A+ tier, which is high tier, and he's a free-to-play unit and he's a reward from the new Tempest Trials, which is going to be starting up from tomorrow. Joshua functions similarly to Lloyd, but he's better in the enemy phase than Lloyd because Joshua has 10 points more defense than him and has more res as well because of his legendary weapon, and he can reach 33 res, so he can run a pretty good distant counter set and take hits from mages pretty well. Offensively, both Joshua and Lloyd are same, but Lloyd would be slightly better due to the Regal Blades bonus, but Joshua can abuse stuff like Defense Ploy much easily due to his Adelma sword, so that's why I've placed him in the A+ tier. I have moved up Seth from B tier to A tier. He still gets outclassed both offensively and defensively by other Red Cavaliers, but Seth has got a pretty similar stat line to Kane with just 1 less speed point and 5 points more defense. That's why he's in the same tier as Kane, as he can achieve pretty much the same things offensively as Kane while still being stocky. And Selena has been moved down from A tier to B tier. She already had trouble keeping up with other sword units who can do same things defensively as her but do actual amount of damage unlike her, and it just got worse for her with the recent release of a lot of these sword units, and her low attack stat is her biggest downfall. She does have good mixed bulk and speed, but with a base attack so low as 26, she's just not able to one round kill a lot of stuff without depending on a special. And Joshua is another unit who can straight up outclass her as a mixed tank. And then I've moved up Hinata from C tier to B tier. Hinata does have massive HP and defense stat, and he's a physical tank, and him having 3 more defense points and 1 more attack point than Tobin does make a difference with their steady breath and quick repose set with Sling Edge Plus, which is their best set, and Hinata can reach 40 defense in the enemy phase with the help of steady breath alone and be a tank with his massive physical bulk. The only problem is that he gets outclassed by a lot of units in the upper tiers in the enemy phase who have got a better mobility and attacking power than him. And then I have also moved up Henry from C tier to B tier, and then I have moved down Raigh from B to C tier. So pretty much both of them have switched their places. Raigh does not have any kind of niche at all, just nothing. Offensively he gets outclassed, defensively he gets outclassed by Sophia and Henry, and he just cannot really function as a mage tank like other red mages. At least Henry has got a high defense stat and high HP stat, so he can be an archer tank, but as I've said before many times, Henry gets outclassed by Sophia as a Red Raven Tome unit, and Henry relies heavily on a special to do any sort of meaningful damage, but at least he does have a niche compared to Raigh, which is to take on archers and especially Brave Lynn in this metagame. And then we move on to lances. So Gwendolyn or Wendy has been moved up from B tier to A tier, and she does have great mixed bulk and she does suffer from below average attack, but she's an excellent overall tank with her great bulk, and she can also run distant counter set pretty well. But she does get destroyed by Fe when it comes to viability because Fe has such a massive attack stat. And then we move on to one of the newly released units. So I've placed Lute in the A+ tier, which is high tier, and Lute does have great offensive stats with her tome and can also debuff enemies and provide good utility. She's pretty good, however she's not S tier, and I'll explain why I've not put her in the S tier. Lute has to run her weirding tome, otherwise she just loses out on 3 speed points and ends up with 32 speed, which is average for a blade tome unit. Lind has incredible power and speed for a blade tome unit, and if both Lute and even Delthea run blade tome, then Delthea will of course outperform Lute due to her higher base speed of 34, and Lute will not be able to perform as much offensively with a blade tome, but that's the whole thing with blade tome. But even if you do not remove Lute's legendary weapon and play with her legendary tome, Delthea's Dark Aura buff is just much better support than Lute's debuffs, and Dark Aura is more consistent and makes Delthea's allies, so that's why Lute is in the A+ tier. Olwen has also been moved up from A tier to A+ tier. Olwen, unlike some Cavaliers, is also viable outside of a Horse Emblem team thanks to her Dire Thunder tome, and she can run a quad attacking set with that, and she can also perform in a Horse Emblem team with a blade tome. So I've moved her up, and then we have got Dorcas, the man who got poisoned, and I have placed Dorcas in the S+ tier. Hector does have his slot be free due to his air mats and can run Vantage, but Dorcas has his slot A free and can run Steady Breath. Dorcas with Steady Breath is really good, and while he cannot really abuse Quick Riposte and Vantage together like Hector, he can still be a great enemy phase unit with his bulk, and his magical bulk is not bad at all, so he can take on Reinhardt pretty easily. And he does have better movement than Hector, so he finds himself in the S+ tier. And then I've moved up Sheena from the A tier to A+ tier. For the same reason I moved up Gwendolyn, and that is for her great mixed bulk. Sheena also suffers from the same problem as Gwendolyn, which is her attack stat. Sheena can run a good distant counter set with Slaying Axe Plus or Emerald Axe or even Melon Crusher if you want to, and depend on her special to do damage. And if Sheena has got very fighter skill, then it's really hard to 1-round KO her unless you've got a brave weapon or a breaker skill, or you're a super buffed Blade Tome Red unit. And then I've also moved up Hawkeye from B tier to A tier. Hawkeye has got great res, and he can also run a good distant counter enemy phase skill set to take on mages. He does also have a decent base attack of 33, so he can do good amount of damage. The axe units in the B tier cannot really do the same things or to the same extent as Hawkeye, so that's why I've moved him up. And then we move on to the dagger units. I moved both Saizo and Frederick down from A+ tier to A tier. Both of them don't really have attack stats similar to Kagero or speed of Gaius or good attack and speed combination of Sakura, but what they do have is a defense stat, and with that, in this metagame, they can function as a Bravelyn check with Bow Breaker and Fury, and even take on a +10 Bravelyn, but other than that, they cannot really achieve the same things with Poison Dagger or Kitty Paddle, which the other dagger units above them can, and I think that this is a good spot for them in this current metagame. And I've also moved down Jaffar from A tier to B tier. Jaffar's only niche is doing passive damage. Felicia has much worse attack than Jaffar's, however, she can be a mage tank and use Kitty Paddle better because of her high res. Jaffar's low attack makes it really hard for him, and passive damage is not really that good right now, especially in this more 1-round KO oriented metagame, and his stat spread simply does not work with that. But Deathly Dagger can be upgraded with the weapon refinery function, so hopefully he can receive a much needed buff. And then I've also moved down Jakob and Matthew from B tier to C tier. Jakob has mediocre stats across the board and he doesn't excel at anything, and Matthew is a defensive dagger unit, but Saizo outclasses him due to having more attack, and Matthew also has really low base attack. So that's why I put these two units in the C tier, and I really hope that dagger units can get some kind of buff with the weapon refinery function or something just in general in future, how they have done the buffs for healers. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. The link to my tier list is gonna be in the description, and like I said, I will post the next update video around 6th of December, which will include the weapon refinery changes and Children of Fate units. I will be making video of that a bit late, but I'm still gonna be updating my tier list as soon as possible, so be sure to bookmark that, and if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe for more Fire Emblem Heroes content and future. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.